Let's go. We are back with an absolutely special client launch release episode of the podcast. And today I have Dr. Shira Ackerman. I'm excited for you guys to hear her story, for you to learn all about her amazing new best-selling book. But before we do that, let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Ackerman. Dr. Shira A. Ackerman has her PhD in applied behavior analysis from Columbia University, 10 years of experience in the field of behavior analysis, and 20 plus years of experience as an educator at all levels. Dr. Ackerman is the co-founder and CEO for Creating Young Minds and the CYM Undiscovered League. She works with families of all the young men, monitors their education both in high school and college, and has built relationships with community members in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, as well as with many college coaches and NBA, G League, and NBL executives. Dr. Ackerman uses her academic expertise to help the young men in the program to grow and develop on and off the court. She monitors their academics, tutors them, communicates with high schools, and supervises the young men attending the year-round academy. And now she is the best-selling author of Creating Young Minds. So Shira, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, this is going to be super fun because when we first met, it was long before book writing and me teaching people how to do books was a thing. We connected through basketball and helping people, and we just stayed in touch, over the years. And then eventually I was starting to post more about the book content, and you were just like, okay, what is this stuff? And now you have a best-selling book, and we're already seeing some amazing early reviews come in. So first, talk to us about what is Creating Young Minds, and kind of give us a little backstory of how the book came to be and why you decided to write it.
Absolutely. So Creating Young Minds is a nonprofit that my husband and I started over 10 years ago. And our objective was to help young men get access to opportunities they wouldn't have otherwise had. And it started with our prep school so that we'd help guys get college scholarships to play basketball. And then it transformed into adding a professional basketball league, the CYM Undiscovered League. So what we do, we use basketball to get their attention, right? But we're really teaching them about life. And now with the older guys, we're teaching them how to build their own businesses, how to be entrepreneurs. So the reason that I decided I wanted to write the book is, like most authors, right? They say, I've always wanted to write a book. Well, I don't know that I've always wanted to write a book. I wrote a book for my dissertation, but like I tell everyone, no one wants to buy that book. It's a really big book. But other than that, I was never really interested in writing a book just to write one. And this past year, coming into 2022, for some reason, I decided I really needed to write a book, and I needed to write about our program and what we were doing to give more people information so that they could help as many people as possible, because it's not just our best kept secret, right? It's not just something that we can do. We want to help other people do it. And that's when, I did what you're supposed to do, right? I wrote it down and I said, I'm going to write a book. And I told my mom, and I told my husband, I told my daughter, I said, okay, I'm writing a book. And I didn't know what I was doing. And so I decided to write down ideas of what I was going to write about. And then I kind of stopped and thought, okay, you have a year, you're doing this, and you've wasted the last 2 months and you haven't done anything. I said, I'm going to need a little more help with this, because just sitting and writing a book might take me forever. So that's where it came from. And then, the fact that I had been watching what you had been doing and putting out information about writing books. And I thought, oh, okay, well, let me see what Jake is doing, and see if this is going to help me figure out what I'm trying to accomplish. So.
And fast forward just a couple months, and your book is out to the world. It's so awesome. It's freaking exciting. And it's been a journey. And one of the coolest things, though, that you mentioned is you told your mom, you told your husband, and you told your daughter. Sometimes people, when they're getting ready to write their book, they don't tell their kids. They kind of keep business and life separate. But talk to me about why you told your daughter and how influential your daughter was throughout this process. Because I know there's been some key moments for you, and some really exciting moments and some motivational moments that came because you included your family in the process.
Absolutely. It wasn't my intention in telling her was just to hold myself accountable, right? So one more person to know. And my daughter, she's an avid reader. I mean, she's 7.5, but she reads from the moment she wakes up to the moment she goes to sleep. And we are never on time because she won't put a book down, right? That's just what she loves to do. So I thought, well, if I'm writing a book, who else to tell but the person in the house that can't put them down? So once I told her what I was doing, she was excited, and she didn't really know, much like I didn't know what I was doing. And she saw I had my little journal, and she said, "Okay, so what have you written?" I said, "Not very much." Oh, okay. And then when I joined the Big Ideas to Bestseller, I didn't tell her exactly what I was doing yet. And I said, I have meetings for the book. And then when there were things I was working on, once I was in the writing phase, so not the outline and everything, but once I was in the writing phase, she started to notice I was doing stuff, and she started to ask. And I would tell her, well, I wrote this today, I wrote the introduction today, or I wrote one chapter, and then she started to figure out there was a structure. And she said, "Well, how many do you need to write, Mommy?" And I said, "Well, I need to have this many done by next week." And then a couple of days would go, "What did you write today? How much did you write?" And she was my motivation and the entire process. She was my accountability partner. That's not who my accountability partner was, but she ended up being one for me without me trying. And every step, she celebrated my successes all by herself. And I would have to say that the best moment happened when I got my proof copies. And she happened to be home when I opened the envelope, and I showed it to her. She started jumping up and down and screaming, and she was more excited than I was. I was like, "Well, this is exactly why I did this." And then she just started reading it, everything she could. And she got to the dedication page. I hadn't told her that I dedicated the book to her. I didn't tell anyone what I had written or the acknowledgments, nothing. And she read it out loud, and I started crying. And my husband looked at her and said, "You're famous." She goes, "I'm in a book. I'm in a book. I'm in a book." It was just the most exciting thing to see her take ownership of what I had done. And along the process, she would tell me, "Well, Mommy, I want to write a book." I said, "Okay, well, let's write a book. What do you want to write about?" "Well, I don't know." And she continued it. And I said, there was one point where she made the comment that, all kids make when you include them to let them see how you can be successful. She said, "So, Mommy, you run your own business and you're writing a book?" And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "You're crazy." And I said, "Yes, yes, I am. Absolutely."
I love that story because, something that I've told you a million times, and we tell a lot of the people that we work with, it's bigger than a book. And there's always going to be something when you have a book that is unexpected that can literally change your life. And it's so beautiful that your daughter became such a focal point for you in this process because you moved fast.
Yes.
How long did it take you to finish your rough draft? Like 20 something days, 32 days?
29 days.
29 days to finish your entire book. And when I first told you that you could potentially do it that quickly, you were like, "Jake, get out of here," right? You're like, "You're crazy." No, I'm not crazy. You're crazy, right? And this is something so beautiful. So what is the book? We talked a little bit about what it's all about, but what do you hope to use the book to do now that it's out? Now that your daughter's seen the dedication, you have this product in your hands. What do you hope to use the book to do?
Well, one of the reasons I wanted to write it, and I'm hoping to use that to help the program grow, because the more people that read the book, that see it, will now learn what we're doing and what we've been doing for the last 10 plus years and how successful it really can be, so that it'll get more eyes on the program, which will just help it grow all by itself. And to get businesses and entrepreneurs interested in joining as a partner for the program, so that the more support we get from all around the country, the more guys we're going to be able to help. And another big piece that I hadn't thought of in detail when I was thinking of writing the book, but it came about as I was doing it, was to really give all of these strategies to everybody else so that they can do the same thing. You don't have to just be part of Creating Young Minds to get access to these kinds of opportunities and to really follow your dreams and goals and have a support system. You can do that and be a mentor and a leader to someone anywhere you are in the world if you use some of these strategies, and some of them will work with different people because everyone's an individual. And so the idea that we could really help other people replicate what we do to help more of our youth grow.
I love this so much. And obviously, I want everybody to go buy the book. You can get it on Amazon. You can get the ebook, you can get the paperback, you can get it wherever. But what I would love to know is, are there a couple strategies or a couple like sneak peeks of the book that you can share with us so that no matter who we are, we can start to learn and be inspired from the methodology of your program?
Absolutely. The main theme throughout the book is positive interactions, right, with our youth and our athletes. And I know everyone thinks, well, that's a given. Well, it is, except that's not really how we interact on a regular basis. If we don't make an effort to be positive in our interactions with young people, then that's not what happens. You know, we often spend a lot of time judging our youth and deciding what they did or didn't do correctly and how they need to fit a certain group idea. And a lot of what I focus on is the individual. And we need to look at everybody as an individual and celebrate that they're different. You know, what unfortunately happens is, you know, you have infants and toddlers, and as you watch them grow, everyone is so excited about everything that they do. And it's all so unique and it's different and it's exciting. And no matter what things they experience, everyone celebrates it. And then you go to school, and now your success is predetermined by what the school system has put in place. And all the adults follow suit. And so that's what's the measure of success once a child goes to school. And it's unfortunate because, you know, I was an educator for 20 plus years and it just doesn't work that way. And we miss out on so many opportunities to celebrate successes of our youth and athletes because we put them in a box. And if we start to look at them as real individuals and purposely interact positively, you're going to be able to help them grow in ways that they can't without that. And that's what I think a lot of people don't. It's not that you're doing it on purpose, you just don't realize you're not doing it.
Yeah. When you talk about these positive interactions, and you know, it's so clear that you just know your stuff, right? Like you've had the experience, you've gotten the education, and now you're sharing it in a way that's changed lives. Like you've changed countless amount of lives. Are there any types of positive interactions that are better to do than others? Or is there any actionable items that somebody who's like, okay, now I'm aware of this, I realize that I'm actually not doing it, but it's so easy to make this shift. What are some of those immediate action steps or ways that people can think about positive interactions?
Well, it's just as simple as listening, right? And so when you have someone who's a young person, male, female, athlete, non-athlete, and they start to share with you their goals and their dreams, the first thing we need to do is stop and not say anything. We just need to listen and be excited about what they say, and not, oh no, you can't do that. That's the automatic response is, I don't know. That's really out there. You know, as opposed to when you have a little kid and you say, what do you want to be when they grow up? And they say an astronaut. You say, absolutely. You have an older person say that and you go, well, do you like science? Do you like math? You know, your grades aren't. The first thing to do is to just be quiet and listen. And then say, okay, well, what do you think the first thing is for us to do to help you get there? That's a totally different response than telling them why it might not work.
Sure, this is really powerful stuff because this is how we inspire our youth outside of the classroom. Okay, this is what it's all about. But it's so funny when you make that commentary of, you know, when someone's a kid and they have a dream, you say go for it. But the minute somebody gets old enough to think realistically, we start shooting them down. Same person, different dream, but we just automatically start to change it. And I think that this is so critical because who is to say what can and cannot be done, right? And we see it time and time again. And, I've worked with tons of athletes. When you tell someone they can't do it, they can choose if they believe that or not, but they often choose to believe it because they assume you have the answers.
Right.
And that's not the children's fault. It's our fault for saying you can't do it. Like, why? Right? But when you tell someone, oh, you can do it, I believe you will change the world. Well, when we believe something, we can accomplish a lot of great things in our life. And so I love how you're kind of framing this. And this book is going to be unbelievable for so many people. So I'd love to know, where can people get the book? Where can people learn more about you? And I want to kind of do that right now before we head into the back end of the interview.
Absolutely. So the book is available on Amazon, and you can get the paperback or you can get the ebook. If you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we will have the books on sale. You can actually pick up a hard copy yourself at our CYM Undiscovered League games in Lake Dallas. And then we also have all of our CYM Undiscovered League gear, our basketballs, our water bottles on sale at the Enchanted Shops in Lake Dallas. And the books will be on sale there as well. So if you don't want to order it and you want to just pick up a copy for yourself and you're in the area, you can just come and get them.
I love that. I love that. So when it comes to the book and you think about how it's helping all of these people and it's going to keep helping all these people, who would you say is the ultimate reader of the book? Is it for the parents so that they can be more aware for their kids? Is it for educators? Is it for the kids themselves so that they can understand? Is it talking points at the dinner table? Like give me kind of an example there so that we know how to best utilize this, because what you're teaching needs to happen. So how do we best put this into practice, and who is this for?
I would say it was written for educators and families. And the more that I talk about the book and I interact with our athletes in our program, the ones previous to our program and the ones who are currently in the program now, they've actually asked me, well, is it for youth to read? And I say, absolutely. And they say, well, what would we get out of it? I mean, we don't read much. What would we get out of it? And I said, you'll find out that there are people in the world who are here to support you. You don't have to do all of this by yourself. So if you read this, you'll figure out there are so many people that can do these things to support your goals and dreams that you don't have to just take no for an answer and decide to do what everyone else thinks is appropriate.
I love that. And when you first released the book, you had this like crazy cool realization from one of your past athletes. And you were telling me about it before we were recording, and you were like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Can you tell everyone kind of what happened just by doing an interview and starting to talk about the book?
Absolutely. So I had done a podcast interview, and I was talking about the book and talking about the stories that are in it about the young men in the program. And one of our young men who had actually been with us before we even started the program itself watched the interview and called my husband and said, oh my gosh, I started watching, Miss Shira on the interview, and I had to call Buka and he had to watch it. And it was just so cool because I got to hear her perspective on what we went through. And I didn't realize that all came from what we went through. And the program was built because of the stuff that we did. And to hear that perspective and the excitement and, sharing it with other athletes that went through the program at the same time he did, it was amazing to hear that excitement from someone who was in the program that is the reason we do what we do.
It's really amazing what a book can do, because just from these, however long this has been on this interview, your daughter and your bond has gotten even stronger. Your daughter's jumping up and down. You're telling her she's famous, that she's going to write a book. Like, you've inspired her. And at the same time, you've been able to rekindle with people that you worked with decade ago, right? Before it was always a program. And it's really awesome because a book leads to the unexpected. A book creates opportunities that maybe you hope for, but you didn't really believe. A book creates opportunities that you're like, oh my gosh, we're selling this book at our games now. You know, we're doing podcast interviews and going around the world talking about this book. And so I just need to give you a big shout out because I know how hard you executed on this book. I remember our conversation and you saying you want to make this happen. You're like, I'm just going to trust you and go for it. I don't know how it's all going to happen. and then literally it was 5 months from the start of that conversation to launch day and getting it out there. So, you know, I just want to give you a big shout out for putting in the work, for trusting the process, and for creating a book that is truly making a difference and will continue to make a difference for a very long time.
Well, thank you. And I have to give you credit for giving me the tools that I needed so that I could actually do what I was trying to accomplish. Because, and I tell everyone that's, I'm a very oriented, goal-oriented, structured person. And without the pieces in place, I have no idea what I'm doing. But if you give me the tools, then I can get it done and be successful. So I appreciate, your program and your energy and the excitement that you always have for everybody so that we really believe we can accomplish it.
Yeah. And for the final big question I have for you is, you've now written your first book. If somebody out there is thinking about writing a book for whatever their reasoning is, what would you say to that person who has the dream of writing a book?
Do it. Why not?
Do it. Why not? Like, come on. You can do it, right? So awesome, Shira. Well, let's talk about it again. What is the title of the book and where do we go and buy the book and learn more about you and CYM?
Creating Young Minds, Inspiring Our Youth and Athletes Outside of the Classroom. It's available on Amazon, ebook and paperback. We will also have the link is also on our website, creatingyoungminds.org, so that anyone wants to go and learn about the program. The link to buy the book is also there. We will also have the books in person in the Dallas-Fort Worth area for our Undiscovered League games and at Enchanted Shops. And you can learn more about us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, CYM Basketball or CYM B-Ball. And then on LinkedIn as well, Creating Young Minds, the business, and then myself, Dr. Shira Ackerman.
Amazing. And we'll link it all up down below. But Shira, thanks again so much for coming on. Thanks again for trusting me to help you write this book. And congratulations on becoming a best-selling author. I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited for your journey. It's just getting started. But thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, if you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure to let Shira know. Go to Amazon, get a copy of her book, read the book, inspire our youth and athletes outside of the classroom, and let's change the freaking game. Let's do it. So I appreciate you for tuning in. Listen to this amazing special episode with Dr. Shira Ackerman. My name is Jake Kelfrey, your host, and I appreciate each and every single one of you. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.